Essex Town Fire, please respond to the area Cherry Street for an active structure fire. Repeat, Essex Dispatch, Essex Junction Fire, Essex Town Fire, please respond to Cherry Street for an active fire. Time of tone 0530. PD to all responding units. There is one person confirmed trapped on the second floor at a window, unable to get out. Repeat, update, one person at the back of the building on the second floor.
I mean, it was different. You could tell that every single person was stressed out. From the firefighters getting dressed to dispatcher talking to us, you could tell that this was, for lack of better words, the real deal. This is everything we trained for, everything the fire department had prepared for years and years and years was unfolding this morning.
Well, I went down Pearl Street, which I could see the scene from Pearl Street. And that's when I noticed this is not going to be good, because there was a lot of flame that I could see.
As a volunteer firefighter, you always feel like you're a little bit behind just because you do have to go to the station. It's not like you're sleeping upstairs or eating or doing chores around the station. So when the tones go out and you're not at the station already, you know, you do feel a little bit behind. When it's a structure fire, you feel a little bit more behind. When people are trapped, you feel like you live miles and miles and miles away from the department.
Ran up to the second floor of the deck, and firefighter JJ told me that there was a victim inside the window. I tried to reach inside the window a few times. There was a thick column of black smoke coming out, and the heat. Every time I tried to reach in, I would have to pull my arms out. Second or third try, I was able to feel what I believe to be the shoulder of the victim. At that point, it got real for me. I realized that there was someone in there, and it was time to get him out.
Fire pulling up, man.
10-4, send somebody around the back. We need somebody with tank and an axe.
That's all.
What was your first thought when you saw the house?
That there's no way that there's anybody alive in that building with the amount of fire showing and the amount of smoke that was there. It was just, the heat when we got off the truck was unbelievable.
Heat. I was on the side of the engine to the structure. I could feel the heat coming through the window. I don't really remember giving it too much of a thought. I kind of remember hoping conditions are better in the back, which is where the victim was reported to be. But knew it didn't look good. I didn't think there was an overwhelming possibility of survival, and if there was, it was a very small window. And beyond that, I didn't really give it any more thought. There was a job to be done, and we went and did it. And standing around thinking about it wasn't going to help anybody.
What am I going to do when I roll in, and all of a sudden the crew in the back of the truck came up with basically the same plan that I had, and I had the problem of who was I going to leave behind to fight the fire and not go do the rescue, because by looking the amount of fire I saw, we were going to have to do firefighting and rescue. And one of the members of the crew decided to make that easy for me. He volunteered to fight the fire. So good, go for it. So that's
What I was going through my mind, but I didn't know that the only way my crews were going to be able to get in and get anybody was we were going to have to put out some of that fire. Quickly called up to the cap, said, "Hey Cap, I'll make the attack."
Make a knock on the deck. Okay, I'll grab the line. I'm going to make a knock on the deck.
The engine, again, police officer met us. She was very, very worked up. It was tough. When you have a helpless feeling and you can't put yourself in the position you want to be, you want to be inside the building helping somebody out, you want to get them out. Every single responder here in the village and in the town is like that. So she was stressed. It added the stress level. It kind of encouraged me a little bit, made me think that there must be somebody viable still in the building. I did my part, pulled the first line off, inch and 3/4 line, so we could make a hit on the front porch. got that line pulled off, handed it off to Haley, went and grabbed a second line, our larger line. I knew if we were gonna get anybody out of this and we weren't gonna kill any of our firefighters in doing it, we needed to make a much bigger attack. So with 2 people, the best we could do is an 1 3/4 line and then one of our blitz guns.
We kind of discussed in the group that firefighter Greg and I would be going to the rear to try and effect the rescue with Captain Kellogg. I got off the piece and grabbed the iron set in case we needed to force entry to the rear, and Steve, firefighter Greg, grabbed the ground ladder because again the reports were somebody trapped on the rear. We didn't know there was a porch or anything like that. Officer Dunning and firefighter Gillette were screaming from the porch saying, "We have a person right here inside the window."
First made into the structure, we had a very good idea of where she was. So we kind of took an immediate right and hit a wall and we had to continue in deeper. So we had to get about halfway into the structure.
Significant fire conditions right above us in the hallway. So we had to double back, take a right, and come back down the hallway to the bathroom. I paused for just a second to take a note of the fire conditions as firefighter Greg continued into the bathroom, located her, and that's when he hollered, "I got her in here."
The only thing left between us and her was a stud under the window. We used a crowbar which was provided by one of the residents, I believe, that at the time seemed like the world's smallest crowbar. But between the 2 of us, swinging like a baseball bat, we were able to break the stud out from under the window and create a hole big enough to get her body out of. I could see the firefighters on the interior of the building looking through the hole and realized quickly that she probably wasn't going to be able to go through the inside of the building, at which point, with their help, she was moved closer to the opening we created.
To lift her over to where that hole was started, because it was kind of like window, hole, victim. It's like, I don't know, it all happened quite fast.
We grabbed on under her arms and pulled her out through onto the deck. JJ was able to pick her up from the arms. I grabbed her feet, and at that point, she was a lifeless body. I was mentally preparing myself that this was a body recovery. We're not going to save a life, but I needed to get her as far away as possible and away from the active fire.
You in the rear. All right, I'll call you after that.
2 minutes of CPR, her chest kicked back at me. I've never experienced that before while doing CPR, and I remember saying out loud, "She's trying to breathe." I was instructed by the rescue crew, keep doing CPR. I kept doing compressions. After another 30 seconds to a minute, she kicked back at me again, and it was almost like she was gagging, trying to breathe on her own. My mind was blown at that point. I kept doing compressions. Rescue was able to finally find a pulse and some vitals. At that point, I left her to them. I went and I actually found one of the firefighters that I knew, because realized I had inhaled a lot more smoke than I originally anticipated, and was able to get some oxygen and seek treatment myself. I was transported by Colchester Rescue along with JJ down to the medical center, at which point, while I was getting treated, the ER nurse or the ER doctor came in and told me basically that I had saved a life that morning, that she was in the hospital, she was intubated, but she was alive, and the outlook was pretty good for her. The emotions started to hit me at that point. Luckily I was in the hospital and had medical attention. And
What were your thoughts when you got the word that she was going to make it, when it came back, word came through that the victim had made it to the hospital and the hospital was giving her the odds that she was going to make it?
It was a bit of a relief, and it definitely made us ready to put gear back on and head back in for the rest of what needed to be done to fully extinguish the fire.
Gave us the news that we had already been contacted from the hospital. They expected Corey to make it. it was uplifting. I mean, to be honest.
I just like was completely disbelieved that had actually happened. I couldn't wrap my head around it for some reason. I was like, it doesn't happen generally anywhere, and it's never happened here, or not in a long time. Nor would I ever imagine that I would be involved in something, or like any of us. I mean, it's just everything happened so perfectly.
The thing I can say is like everybody between, you know, Essex Junction Fire, Essex Town Fire, Essex PD, and Essex Rescue, everybody worked like we were all one major department, and I think that was one of the keys why the female survived in the fire that she did.